It's July 1st, so happy Canada Day to all my fellow Canadians out there. In this installment of Cyberpunk Is Neat, I thought we'd do a quick episode on what this country might be up to in the Mike Pondsmith Cyberpunk universe. From my understanding, Canada is as cyberized as the rest of the world as far as Chrome and tech goes. In 2077, Canada isn't relevant or really brought up at all, so I don't think much is known about the country at that point in the timeline. But we do have some factoids from some of the older material from the tabletop games. Let's rewind to the 2020s. I think the best excerpt of what Canada is about comes from the Cyberpunk 2020 sourcebook Home of the Brave. On page 54, there is a section detailing America's neighboring countries. When the United States collapsed in the late 90s through the 2000s, Canada was not affected much due to their small population and vast amount of natural resources. Global warming has also turned southern Canada into an agricultural haven. I don't know if that's because it's getting too hot in other places or if it warmed Canada up to the ideal temperature. One example is that the pollution in the Great Lakes is so bad that Canada had to install a water lock and recycling system on the St. Lawrence to protect their own waters from contamination. The agricultural advantage and overall stability led to most major corps setting up operations in the country. In general, it seems like Canada has sold out to corporations. The national government had essentially been replaced by them, and corporate militaries openly controlled the borders. American nomads that tried to cross over were only allowed if they agreed to work for these corps. In the Cyberpunk 2020 rulebook, which is included in the free bonus content for the game on Steam, there is a section on corporate profiles where you can find Canada and Canadian cities listed in many of the corporate info cards. It looks like Ottawa was typoed in the WNS card. Chu 2, the moniker for the chemical fuel that has replaced gas and diesel in the Cyberpunk universe, is one of Canada's largest exports. Canada's largest growing industry was hardwoods, which had gone from a premium to a luxury. And that isn't too surprising given that Canada's two most prominent industries are petroleum production and forestry. Like America, I imagine Canada uses Eurodollars as its currency. While Canada is not part of the European Economic Community, they are the only North American country on good terms with Europe. From a geographical perspective, it seemed like there were times where Canada was on the verge of breaking apart. In the 2020s, the Atlantic provinces thought of applying for statehood or to join the Seaboard Cooperative, an alliance of the Northeast Free States of America. The reason isn't elaborated on, but they were probably concerns of the rampant corporatization in the country. In Cyberpunk Red, the province of British Columbia was part of the Pacifica Confederation. This was an alliance of free states created amidst the Fourth Corporate War on the west coast of America. So around the mid-2020s to the late 2040s, BC had seceded from Canada. However, by the time 2077 happened, this coalition was seemingly dissolved and BC had either returned to Canada or became a free state of its own. During the Nomad prologue, you can find an NUSA map in the Border Crossing Office. Instead of Pacifica, it's just the Pacific Confederation and only contains the states of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Although the Cyberpunk Wiki states that these three make up a new association known as the Western Corporate States. It may be marked incorrectly on this map. From the corporal profiles I showed earlier, the biggest Canadian cities were probably based on the ones in our reality. So Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and maybe Ottawa since it's the capital. The 2020 rulebook states that Canada is one of the countries that Trauma Team operates in. I believe the rulebooks were released shortly after Canada introduced publicly funded healthcare in 1984. So they might have considered that. But as mentioned, Canada's national government had little influence compared to the corps, so I don't know if Canada's free healthcare existed in the Cyberpunk universe. Cyberpunk 2077 takes place several decades after most of this information, so again, I'm not sure how things are looking at this point in time. Canada was surely affected by large global events such as the Fourth Corporate War and Raish Bartmoss's data crash. Maybe in the future we'll get some updated lore on what Canada is like in recent years. Well, that's all I got for now, so hopefully you enjoyed this brief look at Canada in the Cyberpunk universe. I'm sure there's a bunch more in the source books that I'm missing out on, so if you know any other fun facts about this country or any others, then feel free to comment about them below. But here's a fun fact related to our reality. Did you know that the voice actors for Johnny and Rogue are both Canadians? You might call that a coincidence, but I would say, that's pretty neat, eh?